Welcome one and all. As always on Football Pass, we get the big names to discuss the big issues of the day, and we're certainly doing that today in the company of the one and only John Hartson, of course, former Arsenal and West Ham, as well as clearly a Celtic legend. So lots to chew on with Big John, as well as how he's getting on. You may well have seen on social media he's on the mend after a pretty big operation. Welcome, John. Let's start in the Premier League before we get to your knee and matters up north, where of course you live. Top of the Premier League, Man City getting a bit of a stranglehold now with that surprise, shock really, defeat for Manchester United at the hands of the Blades.
Yeah, well, they've been on some run, haven't they? Manchester City, you got to give them that. Manchester United last night getting beat at home to Sheffield United. Fielded another strong team as well. Bruno Fernandes came back in, having missed out at the weekend, although he came on as a sub and scored the winning goal. But he started the game last night, and along with Martial and Rashford, but they just couldn't quite find a way to beat Sheffield United. And I think the league has gone a bit like that this season, Matt. You see the top team, as it was, of the second team, Manchester United, losing to the bottom team, Sheffield United. It just goes to show you can't take 3 points for granted in this Premier League this season.
No. So I suppose what everybody else now needs to know is, will Man City slip up? Will their consistency go away like everybody else's has at some point? I know they didn't start great, but they're in their groove now. If they don't falter, everybody's chasing, aren't they?
Well, everybody's chasing. I've just looked at the league table this morning, and Liverpool are now 7 points behind Manchester City. Spurs 6 points behind City. They are the team to catch now. And credit to Manchester City, because a lot of teams were saying, teams have worked them out, and De Bruyne's missing now as well, obviously for a couple of weeks or months, however long he's going to be out for. They're currently playing without a recognised centre forward, but Gundogan, a fantastic little maestro, fabulous player. They've got players. Sterling can go in there and play through the middle. The way they pass the ball, the way they create chances, and the 5-0 win against West Brom the other night at 5, it was going on 7. Will they slip up? I think they lose another game before the end of the season. It's just a case of whether Man United, whether Leicester. I wouldn't quite rule Liverpool out. They've gone through a little bit of a big blip to their standards. They've only won they've not scored in their last 4 Premier League games, which is so unlike Liverpool. But in them games, Matt, they haven't scored for the 4 games. They've created 72 chances on goal. So it's a case of they need to sharpen up, obviously, with their finishing. We know Firmino doesn't get too many, but Salah and Mane, obviously, they need to sharpen up in terms of their finishing. But I think Manchester City may possibly lose another game, before the end of the season. It's just a case of can Leicester, United, these chasing teams, can they go on a run similar to Manchester City and threaten that top spot?
Well, obviously, from Liverpool's point of view, they've got Tottenham tonight and then West Ham on Sunday. 2 pretty difficult games, I would have thought.
Yeah, it is. Spurs are flying, aren't they? They're able to rest some of their big players, like the game the other night against Wickham in the FA Cup. They can leave Højbjerg and Ndombele and Kane, Son. They can leave these type of players out and still get through the cup games. Whereas they'll all come back, I would think, tonight at Spurs. So that's a really big game, Spurs-Liverpool tonight. Liverpool desperately need to score. They desperately need a win, just to basically appease their fans, if you like. The fans are getting a little bit sort of disgruntled with their form. But again, I think Liverpool can get back on it as quick as they've slipped off, if you like. I think they're such a fantastic team. I think they lost to Burnley at home the other week there. I think it was the first home game they've lost in 69 games, which was remarkable. And they've got such great quality. They've got players coming back. I think Henderson and Matip, I think they're both available tonight to Jurgen Klopp. Fabinho come through the game at the weekend there as well against United. They went out of the FA Cup. So they're looking a little bit stronger in terms of, injuries. But, Liverpool, unlike, the form that they've been showing, is very unlike them.
What about West Ham then, your old team? They are, I think, in a vein of form that even perhaps loyal Hammers fans, even big David Moyes fans, have been pleasantly surprised by, eh?
Well, first of all, I'm delighted. I'm delighted for West Ham. I'm delighted for David Moyes. He's got them all sort of working their socks off. You could see them as a team. They're well drilled. They go forward together. They come back together. Souček, a wonderful player. Antonio just carries the team forward. Defensively, they've gone to 3 at the back. Creswell, on that left-hand side. Bowen is a fabulous player. And he's left a couple of the big hitters out, if you like. The likes of his captain, the likes of one or two others that you'd say that he might have played because of the names, Pellegrini signings before he got in there, David Moyes. But he's playing players that are giving him absolutely everything at the minute. Declan Rice is arguably at the top of his game, wonderful player. And, they deserve to be where they are. They're on a fantastic run. And credit to David Moyes, who have not always got along with David Moyes. We had one or two issues when I was playing for Wimbledon that he was manager of Preston, and it's gone on and on and on. But when I see him, I'm gonna be the first to go over and shake his hand and tell him how well he's doing at West Ham and how proud everybody is of turning the corner for them.
No, absolutely. In fact, someone said to me just yesterday that this West Ham team are starting to look quite a lot like Everton from around about, let's say, 2009-10, when Moyes had been there a while and got them kind of into the shape that he wanted. And that is quite a compliment, because I think in the end he made an Everton side very hard to play against, pretty successful given the resources. And if West Ham get into that kind of shape, then they will be contenders in the top half of the division.
Well, that's what they are. They're big, they're strong, they defend their box, the 6-yard box. They've got players who can go and head the ball. Going forward, they get great delivery into the box. I mentioned Creswell on the left. You got Declan Rice, who's a great technician as well. But that's a big compliment, because when you think of Everton, they got them into the Champions League once. I think David Moyes, many times into the Europa League, into Europe. But I just think that David's the type of manager. He's getting a lot of praise. He'll take the praise, but he's almost saying, look, there's another 14, 15 games to go. We want to finish the season off. We want to try and get into Europe. I'm not too sure, in terms of top 4, with the quality of teams that are in and around that top 4 this season. You got Chelsea and Arsenal are going to come with some sort of run as well. Everton, of course, under Ancelotti. But you want to finish it off. I think David's the type of person with his staff, Kevin Nolan and obviously Stuart Pearce have been really effective there, brought them 2 on board. But you want to finish it off. You want a European spot, or you want a really good cup run, or get them to Wembley for the cup final. I think that's the way he thinks, David Moyes. He doesn't rest on his laurels. They're on a great run, but I think he has to keep reminding his players, we've not achieved anything yet. We're 4th. We get wonderful praise. We'll take the praise, but let's keep going.
Yeah. I guess you could say similar things about Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, obviously far newer to management, but they've looked really good, Arsenal, on the up. Then they've kind of looked quite bad and felt like they were dipping. Now they're on the up again.
Yeah, they're just in and out, Arsenal, aren't they? They went out to Southampton with a whimper in the FA Cup. A really disappointing performance, I felt. And then they go to Southampton in the league and win quite comfortably. Aubameyang's back now, and I think the young players at Arsenal have given the supporters a big lift as well. The likes of Saka, the likes of Smith Rowe, they're really good, talented players, going to be there for a long time. Hopefully Arteta will get them signed up and not do what Arsenal have done in the future and let their very good young players leave, because the contracts are running down and every one thing or another. But, Lacazette and Aubameyang, they're a threat for anybody, and they're on a good run again, Arsenal. So, I'm not right. I'm not writing off Everton. I'm not writing off Chelsea. I'm not writing off Arsenal. Arsenal with a good run under Arteta. Don't rule them out yet in terms of a European spot anyway.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great season, certainly from a kind of health of the Premier League point of view, isn't it? And you wouldn't now be sure even who's going down, because whilst this week you'd say West Brom looked terrible, suddenly Sheffield United have got a little bit of hope. Fulham certainly have improved. So even at the bottom, you wouldn't be certain as to who's doomed for the drop. And what about in Scotland, John? How important was it for Celtic to get a win after clearly a rough patch? But in the end, it didn't count for much because Rangers got it done again, didn't
Rangers
they?
won. Well, Rangers haven't lost. I think that was their 20th clean sheet of the season last night. So they defended remarkably. They've beaten Celtic twice this season in the league. They're scoring goals. They're defending strongly. And Celtic have just not had the season that everybody expected. I think there's been one thing has led to another. At the start of the season, they had an issue with the COVID, with Bolingoli, who had to leave the club because of support demand, if you like. He had to go, couldn't stay at the football club. And then you had the issue with Lee Griffiths coming back for pre-season, not fit. He was left out of the pre-season tour over to France, out of the training camp, if you like. Then they lost the first game of the season against Rangers at home, where they were without Edouard and without Christie because of the coronavirus. And they've just drawn too many games. I think they've drawn 7 games, lost 2. And they've just not been at it this season. I think the boy Turnbull, who's a really good player for them, David Turnbull, he never really come into the side until just before Christmas. Neil Lennon's changed the system a little bit. He's gone to a diamond with Sorrow, who's come in for the captain Brown. And Celtic have just dropped too many points. They've just dropped too many points. Rangers have stolen March and they've kicked on. And, to think it's 23 points, it's almost like Celtic have gone, there you go. They've literally handed Rangers the championship without putting up a fight, if you like. You could understand if they were, 5-6 points clear and Celtic still have to play Rangers twice. You're thinking, well, possibly they might claw this back. But there's no way that Rangers are going to let this 23-point lead slip. I think they've got a 22-goal advantage as well, with goals scored, goals against. And they looked the dominant team. They looked the dominant team in Scotland this year in such an important season as well. What was at stake? Celtic chasing 10 in a row. Rangers trying to stop it, of course. But you've got to give credit to Steven Gerrard. He was able to hold on to his better players, his best players, if you like, the likes of Ryan Kent, the likes of Morelos. There were bids that came in for them in January, and at the start of the season. And he was almost saying to his board, look, I need every player, especially my big players. They're going to be important to me. They've added one or two other players to it, which has made them stronger. They defended excellently with Goldson and obviously Tavernier at right back. I think he's got himself 16 or 17 goals, somewhere like that. And, you just have to tip your hat to them. They produced great form. And Celtic, I have to say, haven't quite been at it.
So how do they get it back, Celtic? And do they do that with Neil?
Well, I've been Neil's biggest supporter all season. I've backed him. I've made contact with him. And, everybody knows that to my own detriment, I was getting a lot of stick for, sticking up for my mate, my pal, people keep telling me. But I genuinely thought up until about 4 or 5 weeks ago, going into the second Rangers-Celtic game at Ibrox, Celtic got beat but played very well. They went 19 points behind in that game, but they had 3 games in hand. And then when they came back from Dubai, I thought to myself, well, they win them 3 games in hand, it's back to 10. But they dropped 6 points. They drew them 3 games. And then I looked at it and thought to myself, I think Celtic have to make a change. For as much as I played with Neil, and I played with him, and I've supported him, I just think that it needs a freshness about it, and I think 99% of the supporters are with me on that. But the club, they've showed their backing towards Neil Lennon. That's their prerogative, of course. So it's a case of now, in terms of bringing players in, players will leave. We saw Frimpong go to Bayer Leverkusen yesterday, I think, for £11 million. I think there's several others that will go out of the door. It's just a case now for me, and it's clear really whether the board are seriously going to back Neil in terms of staying in the job for next season. They need bodies to come in. They need replacements. They need quality. Celtic always have to buy every season. It's just a case now of, we will see, the signs will be there. Will they give Neil Lennon those funds to bring in these new players that he wants? They linked with the Preston centre-half, Ben Davies. I think they want to try and get him on a pre-contract where he finishes the season at Preston and joins in the summer. But that'll be a big telling point whether or not Neil Lennon will be able to buy the players and have a look at these players. Because obviously as well, Matt, as you know, we've got the Euros coming up in the summer. And the Euros is a great sort of leveller to go and buy players, to send your scouts out there and look at the young French players, look at the young German players, the Spanish players, and you can almost steal a lot of these foreign players, get them when they're very young, and nurture them into your club and everything else, and get some good deals. So there'll be a lot of scouts and managers closely looking to add to their squads during the Euros this summer that are coming up.
Yeah, well, I certainly look at the two Czech players that David Moyes found for West Ham and think, well, Celtic should be looking perhaps in that market. Now, what about you, John? You've had a big operation, a knee replacement.
Yeah, another one.
How are you feeling, and what's the prognosis?
Well, Alan Shearer texted me and he said, John, what are you doing having another operation? He said, you shouldn't be having any more operations. But no, I went in for a knee replacement, which, if I said the pain was horrific, people would be almost, that's a big word, horrific, but the pain is brutal, especially the first 2 weeks. I needed it done. I've not had it done, obviously, since I finished 10 or 12 years ago. It's been playing me up, my left knee. I had no cartilage, the toe bones rubbing together, so I needed the operation. And I'm only 3 weeks into it, so I'm just in the middle of doing a bit of physio with my physio in Edinburgh, in Aspire Hospital. I started physio last week, so hopefully he'll push me on. But it's just something that I needed done, because hopefully if it recovers well, I'll have another 15, 20 years of a brand new knee. And, I'll feel the benefit for that. But it was another operation I could have done without, but as well as two of my brain and two of my lungs, my back, everywhere else. But, I'm surviving, so I'm okay. I'm doing all right.
We can rebuild you. We have the technology. You're the $6 million man.
Oh, incredible. I don't think I'll make one of those, when you go through the airport. I'm not sure if I'd get through security. I remember walking through a couple of times with Terry Butcher, and Terry had his hip done, and it used to buzz when he'd go through, the machine where you can go through the check-in and check-out security, and it used to make me laugh. I'm not sure if I'd make it through now myself.
Mate, you'll be setting everything off. But delighted to hear you're in such good form, John. Always good to talk.
Okay, thanks, Matt.